But Caramel, I have standards. And yes, of course, I tell men my standards in the first interaction every single time. Okay, that's great. And now tell me, do you walk away the minute that those standards are not met 2 times in a row? Huh? Well, huh? Ah. If you have standards, then you don't just say you have standards. You must be prepared to enforce said standards. That's where we get boundaries. Your boundaries are the enforcement of your standards. So if your standard is that you are addressed a particular way, or if your standard is that a man doesn't call or message you after a certain time of night, then when he does those things that aren't your standards, that don't fit in with your standards, you don't respond. For instance, in real life, if someone addresses me without saying, hello, excuse me, miss, or ma'am, or good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, and they simply just begin speaking, I didn't hear them. Because clearly they weren't addressing me. Yeah? And if they repeat themselves because I didn't hear them, and they still don't say, excuse me, ma'am or miss, or good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, then I didn't hear them again. On the third time, if they don't address themselves to me properly, I will say, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, and smile. And most people, 99.98% of people will then go, oh my God, excuse my bad manners, so sorry, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. And then they will address me. And at that point, I heard them because then they were aligned with my standards. It's the same thing. If a man doesn't meet your standards in your first few interactions, and you have stated clearly what those standards are, then you calmly say, I'm so sorry, I realize that you're not able to meet my standards, and so I'm not interested in taking this any further. Very calmly, with a smile, very pleasantly. No drama, no fuss, no complaining, no accusation. Very calmly. I realize that you're not able to meet my standards, and so I'm not interested in taking this further. Thank you. One of three things will happen. He will say, okay, because he wasn't that invested and he was playing the numbers game that men play, and so you would just one more no in the string of no's to get to a yes. Or he will get very annoyed and begin ranting and insulting you and asking who you think you are and all those kinds of things, in which case that's a great education in who he actually is and how he behaves when things don't go his way. Or 3, he thinks about it and he says, you know what, you're right, and I'm sorry. May I have an opportunity to do better? Either one of those 3 scenarios gives you all the information that you now need to have a better future, because it's either you've gotten rid of him, you are clear who he is and how he behaves, or you now have investment from somebody who's willing to do better. Congratulations. Maintain your standards, have boundaries, and be prepared to walk away when those standards are not met the first time.